Well, thank you, everybody, for being here today. We'll go ahead and get started. And in the interest of brevity, there are some folks here in the audience. We appreciate everybody coming. We're not going to introduce each individual person today because we want to really get down to what we're here to talk about. And as all of you know, back in September, we held our first press conference at that time talking about the initiatives that we were going to institute here at the City of Lafayette and the Lafayette Police Department to really address the growing concerns within the community of the drug addiction and drug abuse problem and the crime and the criminal activity that was really spawning in our community. And we knew that a lot of our crime was related to that, and we had to begin to try to address that. And so we looked at ways to begin to reach out into the community, to build some relationships, to do that community outreach, but also put enforcement procedures into place and begin the dialogue with the community about addiction and mental health services and treatment, all of those components that we knew were necessary to really try to solve this problem, to get people the help that they needed, but also from the enforcement side, doing those enforcement activities that we needed, and to also build those community relationships. We also talked about transparency at that time, that we would continually update the community as to the progress of our initiatives and how they were working and where we were at on that timeline, and that they would have the opportunity to hear directly from myself and directly from the administrative and leadership team of the Lafayette Police Department. Then back in February of 2016, we held our second press conference, and we gave that update, kind of where we were in those initiatives. And we also at that time wanted to thank the community. We were very, very pleased with the outpouring of support that the police department received just in general from the community about those initiatives, about working with the police department. And we're also very happy with the amount of involvement that we began to have with people calling the police department, people working within their neighborhood groups, people sending in tips. And so we really felt like those relationships were starting to climb again and were where they wanted to be. And we also began to give an update on those initiatives. What also happened at that time that I want to thank the community for and thank our state and federal legislators is we really began to get the attention of some of those bodies. And so you begin to see legislation come out of the State House. You begin to see discussions on the federal level about different legislation that might help with what it really is a national crisis of opioid abuse and overprescription of pain medication. And I saved the paper from time to time, and I went back to May 12th, which is fairly recent, and it said legislators set to pass 18 related bills focused on addiction, treatment, and prevention, and that was at the federal level. And so I do want to thank our legislators and everyone in the community that said, you know what, I need to get involved. I need to make my voice heard to help get this type of legislation passed. Now we do have to continue that because we got to make sure all that gets funded. It's great to have legislation, but we need to make sure that funding is in place at the state and national level so it can help us here locally. And so I would encourage all of our citizens to continue in that area. So today we're going to give you again another update. This will be our third press conference on where we're at on these individual initiatives and where we are collectively as a department, as a community, as we move forward. And I would again like to thank all of our citizens, but again, issue that challenge to you to continue to talk to your friends and neighbors, continue to participate in your neighborhood group, continue to participate in our outreach program. We still continue to need additional people to be the eyes and ears of the police department, to have that relationship that allows us to get our job done. And I want to ask them to continue to do that and continue to be active in the legislative process. As I said, make sure our state and federal legislators know that opioid abuse and addiction and the services that go along with that is a priority in our communities, and we need that legislation and we need that funding passed to make that a reality. One of the biggest initiatives that we discussed early on was the take-home car program. We announced that at our first press conference. At the second press conference, we talked about all those vehicles had been purchased, and we were in the process of equipping those. to get those ready for deployment. We had some on display that people could look at. Well, today we want to announce that 18 of those vehicles have been actually deployed out into the community. Now, as the months go on, more will be deployed. That's not the ultimate number, but as you probably remember, the officers that get those vehicles, that live inside the city limits, that live in our neighborhoods, have to reach a certain training level before they become qualified for one of those cars. And so as they reach those training levels, those cars will be continued to be deployed. But to this point, we have 18 new ones out there on top of the other ones that we already had of people living in the city of limits of Lafayette. So we're in around that 40 number, and that number will continue to grow over time. I can tell you that just having those 18 vehicles out is making a difference, at least in the perception of the community. I have been stopped numerous times by people that have said, hey, we're seeing more police cars. There's a police car in our neighborhood, and we see a police car at this location. We talk about, it's the new take-home car program for officers that live inside the city limits of Lafayette, and the comments are extremely positive on how that makes people feel, seeing those additional cars, knowing where they're going to be, seeing them out in the community, and so we're very excited about that. On the hiring front, we continue to hire. If you follow us, you see us continually swearing in new policemen. The hiring process has never slowed down since our first announcement. We continue to run the processes literally daily, weekly, monthly to continue to hire. I checked in with Lieutenant McCoy today just to see how many career fairs that we'd been to since January, and his administrative services have been to 14 different career fairs just since January, all over the state of Indiana. And I won't read the entire list, but to give you some idea, they've been to Indiana State twice, Indiana University, Vincennes, Ball State, Kokomo, Ivy Tech, Lafayette, Ivy Tech, Butler, Trine University, and we're very involved with Operation Hire a Hoosier Veteran. And so they've been working very hard with that organization to also find Hoosier veterans to move into law enforcement careers. I want to take just a moment to thank the City Council. Obviously, all of those require funding appropriations, so I want to thank the Council for their commitment to law enforcement, their commitment to the police department, and helping fund those additional vehicles, those additional positions that we have within the police department. We have also hired the new dispatcher. We talked about that a little bit early on. That dispatcher is still in training. Once that training is complete, then having that new position gives that division and the opportunity to realign their manpower and their allocation resources to have some time to focus on some of our specialized units, which we talked about early on. And I also want to spend just a little bit of time talking about Claystone. You know, we still hear from time to time incidents that happen at Claystone, or somebody that lives at Claystone involved in some type of incident in a community. And typically when that happens, I'll get a couple phone calls or I'll get a couple emails from people that say, hey, still problems at Claystone. There's still something happening at Claystone. And what I tell them is, yeah, there is. But I honestly believe Claystone is moving in the right direction. And just as early as this Monday, we met with one of the principals in the Integra Group, Hans Jewell, with the Integra Group that owns Claystone, about what's taking place. And we are in regular contact with him and his management team at Claystone. And I can tell you, they're doing the right things for the right reasons. And I told Hans on Monday, and I'll tell the public, he has my full support. Claystone is not going to change overnight, and it shouldn't be anybody's mind that in a week or a couple months, we're going to get all the problems at Claystone fixed. But over time, we are definitely moving in the right direction. And just to give you a little bit of update, the interior remodels continue. The exterior renovations are underway. New lighting has been put in. Camera systems are still being evaluated. Inspections are being done on the apartments. New evaluation procedures for the tenants are taking place. All of those things that we need to help make a long-term difference, they're doing. So I know that we're moving in the right direction, and we want to generate the community support. Because what I've found with Hans and with the Integra Group is that Claystone is more than just a complex in their portfolio of complexes that they own. They care about that complex and they care about this community. And if you look at the work that they've done in this short period of time, how they've went out and tried to build relationships with other organizations, how they're looking at programs that they can bring to Claystone, how they want to do those things that lift people up and empower people to really change their lives and create a safe living environment for those people that call Claystone home. Now, it's really easy just to pigeonhole everybody, that everybody that lives at Claystone's a criminal, right? That's easy to do, but that's not a solution. That's the easy way out. Because the reality is there's a lot of good people living at Claystone too. And if we want to ensure that those children that are living there now become productive citizens of the future, then we as a community have to help with this transformation that's taking place at Claystone. So I want to encourage churches, civics groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, anybody that might want to reach out to Claystone to help make a difference in the lives of the people that live there. Don't be afraid. Get a hold of us. We'll work with you. And let's reach out. Let's the community embrace that transformation to help make it a reality. Like I said, it's easy to say, oh, something else happened at Claystone. That's not a solution. So I'd like to encourage everybody to do that, to really get involved as we work on that area. On our abandoned houses, you know, we talked back about the new law that went into effect that helped us deal with abandoned houses. We continued through that process. We started early on with the identification of those properties. Then we went to the property owner notifications. Then we went to the hearing authority. Then we have to go back to the notifications. And we went through all that process. And now in August, the first abandoned property tax sale in Tippecanoe County will take place, and there'll be 5 properties that we've identified on there that will be a part of that sale. So we're hoping that goes well. And as soon as that sale's done, then we'll start the process of identifying the next group that we'll have to run through here. Now, the process is rather lengthy. Again, it's not an overnight solution, but it is part of the solution. And so we're very happy that we've been able to get those first 5 through that process, and we're looking forward to that sale in August. Couple other updates on some of the smaller things. On our ordinance inspector positions, for some of you that don't know, we had a retirement in that spot, and then we were able to hire someone new, and that person's Cecil Johnson. And for those of you that don't know Cecil Johnson, he's a retired policeman with 30 years of experience, and already, just in a few short months, with him being in that ordinance enforcement inspector's position, he's beginning to make a real difference in the community. He's bringing a whole new and different skill set to that position that we're finding is very valuable as we work on our neighborhoods, we work on crime situations, and so we're thrilled to have Cecil as part of the team. He was a real loss to the police department. He was one of the finest detectives I've ever worked with in my life, but having him on the city side now, doing what he's doing is making a huge difference for us. We also talked about we were creating a new position that would work on the maintenance portion of the BOCA code that would really help our neighborhood and our neighborhood groups identify problem properties that maybe don't meet that criteria of abandoned or unsafe, or we could tear them down or move them through the sale process, but they're a detriment to the neighborhood. They're kind of in that middle ground that we've not been able to address. I'm happy to announce that we've been through the interview processes. A person has reached a tentative agreement with us to take that position. We're not going to announce it right yet because there's still some paperwork, but if everything goes smooth, that new person will start on June 27th. And what that does is, that again, like with the new dispatch position, it allows us to realign our manpower within the engineering office the way that we divide up inspections. So we'll be able to divide up our inspections in a way that all of the inspectors in the engineer's office will have all the training that they need in that BOCA portion of the maintenance portion of the BOCA code, and all of them will be helping in our neighborhoods on a rotating basis now. So instead of just having Cecil or the one new person trying to do the entire city, with this new allocation, it really opens up 7 people will be out in those neighborhoods working on those properties, helping those neighborhoods solve those problems, and bringing information back to the police department. So we're very, very happy about that. A quick update on the parking operations. As you know, the downtown parking operations expanded to several neighborhoods throughout the community through the use of technology. We were able to do that, and to help with the ordinance violations, be another set of eyes and ears for the police department. And I'm pleased to announce that since January 1, that expanded enforcement has helped address 400 code violations in those neighborhoods. So that's a significant number, again, of work that we're doing to help those neighborhoods stay strong and to send that message about what's taking place. Just quickly, because I did end up talking just a little bit longer than I thought, but I'll wrap up here. Also want to talk about our new downtown security. For the depot in downtown, we have a new downtown security officer. His name is Israel Contuano, and he works from 7 to 3, Monday through Friday, and he's working downtown at the depot and then all the way through kind of the urban core of downtown. He's helping people on Amtrak. He's helping people at Reilly Plaza. He's going up and down Main Street, checking in with our businesses. He has a system that he uses where he can help document problems also, whether it's parking or just a crack in the sidewalk or anything a business might need. He has a system where he can generate reports that comes back to us that we can use to help quickly address all of those problems. And he's assigned just to that urban core of downtown. And he's been working with us for a couple months now, and we're very pleased with the way that's going. So that's an overview. That's kind of my part of the presentation today, of the overview of some of the initiatives and kind of where we're at. I want to thank everybody that's been a part of that, because when you think about how much we've got done in the period of time and what it takes to do it, I think we've accomplished quite a bit, and we're going to continue down that path of getting them all fully implemented. And with that, I would turn it over to the Chief of Police, Pat Flannelly.
Thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to be here. The mayor just covered a lot of information, a lot of great things that are going on. I just wanted to kind of continue some of those updates and give a little bit more detail. I think ultimately what we wanted to talk about today was the rollout of our body camera initiative as one of the many initiatives that are ongoing currently with the Lafayette Police Department. Before I turn it over to Captain Bishop and then eventually to Sergeant Galloway, I just want to cover a few things just so you're aware of where we are. The activity for our police department for the first quarter of 2016, we've been very busy. It's just a continuation of 2015. There's I think some positive things that are going on. Again, a few concerns that we're still focusing on. I think a lot of those things the mayor already touched on. We know that we have an issue with opioid and other drug abuse in the community. It does drive a significant amount of crime. Some of the numbers that I'm going to touch on here briefly are, I think, evident of some of those issues. And I think even recently we had some discussion and there was some coverage regarding the number of overdose cases that are coming into our ERs. I did want to take this moment to thank our police officers, our firefighters, our EMTs, our emergency staff personnel, because I think they're doing a fantastic job. They're really working every day on the front lines of this battle. It's not just something that's occurring here in Lafayette. It is a nationwide epidemic, and without their help, I don't think we would be nearly as successful in what we're trying to accomplish. So I did want to take a moment to thank them. So for 2016, when we're talking just the quarter from January through April, and most of you may have already seen some of this information, just kind of want to touch on a few things. We've had no homicides in 2016, and I know our detective division will appreciate me knocking on wood there, and that's what we're hoping for the entire year. Robberies to date, we have 31 compared to 34 in this time period last year. Our aggravated assaults are at 61 compared to 79 for this period last year. And so those are, I think, some positive indicators. Again, this is just a very short snapshot in time, so we wouldn't want to correlate any type of long-term numbers from that, but it is something that we watch continuously. It's not just on a quarterly basis. We watch this on a daily basis, and we talk about these monthly in our CompStat meetings and our staff meetings. Our burglaries are up 186 compared to, or I'm sorry, down 186 from 189, and our thefts are up from 647 to 677 this year. And that's a fairly significant number. I think it's important to note that 35% of those numbers are derived from shoplifting cases. So our big box stores and some of those other major retailers, when they call us and report these incidents, that it is a tremendous amount of workload that gets placed on the police department and eventually in the prosecutor's office as well. So we'll be looking to identify some creative solutions to try to drive those numbers down in the future. Our motor vehicle thefts are about steady, 65 this year compared to 30 last year. But I guess where I wanted to focus today is more on our drug law violations. And I think, again, in 2015, we saw an overall increase throughout the year. That trend is continuing in 2016. And it's not just about numbers there. I think a large part of this is also due with the community approach that we're taking. We're asking people to provide us with information, and I have a few examples that I'll touch on where people are providing us with information. This is one of those numbers where it's always better to know, to have a true and actual representation of what the true data is, not underreported data. And a lot of times drug crimes go unreported. Even some of our minor theft cases and thefts from vehicles can go unreported. And that doesn't give us an accurate reflection of what's truly occurring on the street. And then again, numbers are not our ultimate measure. Our ultimate measure here at the Lafayette Police Department is to ensure that people feel safe every day when they're going about their business, whether you're going to the store, coming downtown for festivals, or going to your neighbor's house, whatever that is. We want people to feel safe where they are when they're there, regardless of day, regardless of time of day. That is our objective, and we will strive to meet those goals every single day, and our people are working hard to that end. In 2016 to date, we have 275 reported drug incidents. Those are calls that come in, they're officer-generated calls, they come from a variety of sources, and that's up from 251 at this time last year overall, which is an 11% increase. And our 5-year weighted average is up 23% on these types of calls. So we can see that trend, it's ticking upwards. We've also seen an increase in a number of weapons violations. Oftentimes drug crimes and weapon violations go hand in hand. We've seen the number of incidents this year. At this quarter, we're up to 22 incidents, where last year it was 14. Another important reason for us to make sure that we stay on top of any type of drug problem that we have, so we can help to kind of drive these numbers down. We know that a lot of times thefts from firearms, from unlocked vehicles, and those things are all eventually lead to sales for drugs, and they get traded not just in our community, in others. And lastly, one of the things I want to talk about from a numbers perspective today is our traffic safety initiatives. We all know that there's a lot of construction going on. I was just talking with John here before the meeting. It seems like construction is everywhere, and that can be a good thing. It does create some potential hazards for drivers, in particular if we have impaired drivers on the road. Enforcing impaired drivers is still a top priority for us. Our patrol division is doing a fantastic job this year. Our number of DUI arrests are at 134 year to date, compared to 84 at this point last year. I know one officer alone has already surpassed the 30 arrest mark. So we'll continue to strive to keep our roads safe and work towards those ends as well. And what this ultimately boils down to with our numbers and some of the things and all these initiatives that we're talking about is really what we want to do is increase our engagement in the community. Crime fighting is really about engagement, and not just from the police department, but getting everybody involved. We're continuing to work hard in that area. We don't just want to identify what crimes are occurring, but we want to identify what are the root causes, and then work with other city departments and other community entities to help get to the root and solve some of those, so we don't have long-term problems. I think the initiatives that are ongoing at Claystone are just a perfect example of how a community can really make a long-term impact on what crime and safety looks like. Our children are our future. Anything that we can do to provide safe environment environments for children really needs to be at the top of our list. Many of you have met Sergeant Scott Galloway. He's up here. He's going to come up and talk about some of our strategies in regards to engagement. He's doing a fantastic job. His position was created as one of our initiatives, and he hit the ground running, and he'll update you on a few of those things in just a few minutes. And again, we've already touched on a few of them. But just to show you how this engagement is working and how our efforts are assisting in our fight on crime, our numbers on Nextdoor continue to grow. www.nextdoor.com. If you can get on there and become a part of our community solution, we highly encourage it. We're right now just over 6,000 households, 6,088 to be exact, with approximately 34,000 households in the community. That accounts for 17% of our households are on Nextdoor and using it. And for us, it's a way for us to exchange information quickly with communities and neighborhoods about what's going on in those neighborhoods, and a way for them to tell us about things that are affecting them and their quality of life. So it's not just about crime, it's about quality of life and the things that we can do to help improve neighborhoods. We're really trying to get to the 20% mark by the end of the year. That was our goal. I think we're ahead of our pace. If we could get to 22%, that would be even better. Eventually, we'd like to get to that 25% mark where 1 in 4 households, where if we send a message out on Nextdoor, we're going to hit 1 in 4 households, and word from there spreads. So it's our digital neighborhood. It's our way to connect, and we're really working hard to grow those numbers, and we appreciate everyone that's on there and using it. Some data points to reinforce that message that we're talking about in the sharing of information. So far this year, our street crimes unit has reviewed over 40 WE-TIPs. WE-TIPs are just one of the things that come in with crime tip information and other tips. We follow up on every one of those. While not every one of them may lead to a crime or truly pans out, they do pay great dividends. One case alone, or I'm sorry, in 12 of these cases, they've led to direct street crimes investigations that have resulted in 9 arrests, 3 for dealing drugs, 1 meth manufacturing, 5 warrants. Additionally, they seized 2 guns, almost $11,000 in cash, suspected drug money, a meth lab, over 900 grams of miscellaneous drugs. And the street crimes unit alone has made close to 400 arrests this year for a variety of things. They work in conjunction with our patrol officers every day. They're all working very hard, and I think that's just a good example of when tips come in, it's good information. And the better the information we can get sooner, the more productive that we can be. It really does pay dividends. I know sometimes people will call in and they maybe get a little frustrated because they don't feel like something's happened as quickly as they want, but any information is good information. And as we can aggregate that data and take what we can use, we can really make an impact in the long run. One of the other initiatives that we wanted to talk about today is smartphones. I think probably everybody in here has a smartphone. Here in the next few weeks, we've already purchased the smartphones for the remaining number of officers in the police department that are not already carrying them. But we're going to be rolling this out so we can use that technology to our advantage. There's a lot of things that we'll be able to show you even today just on how we're going to use it with TASER and the Axon body camera system. But in addition to that, we have a system that we call Freedom. And it's an app that runs on smartphones, and it provides us access to data at our fingertips. And just kind of to talk about a little bit of evolution, 20 years ago when I started, when I would get out into a police car, pretty much had a radio and some lights, a PA system, and a map book that I carried with me, and some of my other guides. But that was it. We received calls from dispatch to tell us where to go. We went where they told us, and when they weren't telling us to go someplace, we were looking for things to be productive with our time. As technology improved, mobile technology improved, we were able to put laptop computers into our cars and begin to share information with our cars, in our cars from headquarters, from our CAD and RMS system. Dispatchers were then able to send information to our in-car computers just making us more efficient and safer in our jobs. And as technology again expands, now the extension has moved from headquarters into the laptop, into the car, into the mobile phone in the police officer's hand. The Freedom app gives us almost all of the same utility that the in-car laptop gives us. And there will be probably more, we probably could spend an hour talking about it, and I'll be around afterwards to answer any questions you might have about it. But it really is fascinating technology. It's really neat to think about what we're going to be able to do moving into the future, how much safer we're going to be able to keep our officers, and how much more efficient we'll be able to do as we trend in law enforcement to a more data-driven approach and a value-driven approach to how we police. Because in the end, it really is about, how do we deploy our resources to get that maximum value, and that's what we're working on. And technology like that is just, it's an extension into what we're going to need to do. In the future, we're also going to look to increase our presence on social media. It'll be a great way to connect our officers right into the community with things like Nextdoor, Twitter, Nixle, and I would probably venture to say technologies that we don't even know exist just yet. Who knows what's going to be here next year? But I think it's exciting to think about all the possibilities. So, getting to one of the main points of why we wanted to be here today was to talk about the body camera system. I just kind of wanted to refresh everybody about this project and why we're doing what we're doing. The adoption of the body-worn camera systems represents an evolving form of new technology that is significantly affecting the field of policing for many police agencies, including the Lafayette Police Department. And we'll be using these body cameras for a variety of reasons and purposes, and primarily for improving evidence collection. We'll be able to strengthen officer performance and accountability, enhance agency transparency, document encounters between police and the community members, and really investigate and resolve complaints on incidents in a much more efficient manner. It's been said that a picture can tell the story of 1,000 words. Well, if this is true, then I think we can assume that a video might be able to tell the story of 1,000,000 words. It really does give us a new perspective that we just haven't had yet from the officer's perspective. So the written word and the image documentation have always been a critical component to the criminal justice process. Police officers spend hours each shift putting pen to paper, telling the stories of our community members, whether they were the victim of a crime or witness events that might help to eventually solve a crime. We have progressed from pen to paper, finger to keystroke, and now even voice to text, all for that same purpose, to tell the story of what our officers are doing in our community every day. Technology is constantly creating these new and exciting possibilities for advancing professionalism and progressing the capabilities of law enforcement, whether it's exciting breakthroughs in collections and processing of DNA, or simply capturing a clear image that might be the key piece of evidence in solving a crime. Technology, we know, again, is moving at rates never before experienced, and we're just trying to keep pace with that. One area in particular that is advancing is that of video. Just in the past 20 years, we've moved from still images captured on 35mm film to digital cameras, to portable video cameras, to in-car analog camera systems, to cell phone cameras, to digital video. And now that video has moved from the static to the dynamic, from fixed camera positions into police cars, and now even police officers themselves. So it seems like every time we reach a new technological breakthrough, the boundaries are expanded, new possibilities open, and new opportunities present themselves. So here at the Lafayette Police Department, we've been very excited about the advances in body-worn camera systems to potentially improve the quality of service to our community. We have always been a firm believer in video technology to help capture evidence and build strong cases. In fact, we've been using in-car video systems for going on 20 years. At the time we began using the in-car system, we marveled at the technology when it was new. and immediately put it to good use. And of course, it wasn't long till we discovered the limitations of having fixed in-car cameras and begin, we've been having these conversations longer than I can remember about how nice it would be to be able to take that video, put it on an officer, and extend it out beyond the car. And now we've reached that. And I can only imagine where it's going to go from here, but this is, it's pretty fascinating to think about. So for the past 3 years, we closely monitored the advances that have been made in the technology, in the way the systems were working, testing their capabilities and monitoring how they're working. We believe that the technology reached a point where it made sense to make the financial investment that would be balanced proportionally to the public value for which will be generated in the use of this technology. And we believe that TASER International has developed the best comprehensive solution to video and evidence technology that will support our needs here at the Lafayette Police Department. And we're in the process of, the cameras are out now, our officers have been trained, and before I turn it over to Captain Bishop, just a couple of things. We're really in the middle of an ongoing national experiment right now with body-worn camera systems. And just the last legislative session, a lot of the discussions that were going on about what limitations should be placed on them, all the different rules and guidelines that are going to have to be considered moving forward. We've spent a lot of time doing our due diligence to ensure that we have the right policy in place. We feel confident that we have the right system with the right technology where we're not going to interfere with an officer's daily responsibilities. The last thing we wanted to do was put a system on an officer that then created something else that the officer would have to manage in his day that would take up an inordinate amount of time. We want the officers to be able to go out and do what they need to do to keep the community safe, not sit at headquarters and manage video files. So the cloud technology that TASER has offers just some tremendous opportunities, even moving forward down the road, for what we're going to be able to do. And I do want to take a moment to thank our partners in the community, particularly the prosecutor's office. This is a significant shift in the way police departments operate. There's a lot of data that's being captured, and Captain Bishop's going to cover some of that. But it's going to take a little bit of time for all of us to work through this system and understand how it's going to impact criminal justice as a whole, not just police departments. I think there's oftentimes a misunderstanding that the reason police officers wear body cameras is so that they can be held accountable. And I will repeat this until the end of days. Police officers are not afraid of video. They've never been afraid of video. We've welcomed it. We've wanted it. And the reason is because we know that it will help us do our job, plain and simple. Video makes everybody accountable. Everybody behaves differently when they know that they're on camera, whether you're a police officer or not. I would challenge you to find a single person, put a camera on them, tell them you're recording them, and see if they act differently. They will be much more reserved. They will not say things that they might otherwise have said. So when we talk about engagements with community members, the assumption a lot of times is that police officers change their behavior, and everybody, the truth is everybody changes their behavior. So for us, this is about putting together solid cases. And some of those ancillary benefits, those are all part of what you get from camera systems. But without any more, I'm going to turn it over to Captain Bishop, and we're going to show you the technology here and talk about it.
All right, thank you, Chief. What I'd like to do is give everybody just a brief synopsis of our process, developing and ultimately choosing a body-worn camera system for the Lafayette Police Department. We began a directed test and evaluation project initiation in February 2015. We narrowed the field down to 3 manufacturers of body-worn cameras. Those were TASER International, VIEVU, and CopTrax. And we confirmed with them that we'd be able to do a comprehensive test and evaluation process with each camera. But what we did was ask for volunteers from the patrolmen And we ended up with 13 officers who were able to test each camera system so that we got consistent feedback across all 3 systems. We were able to spend 4 to 6 weeks with each system. And then in October 2015, we ultimately decided that TASER International, as the chief referenced, was the best fit for our agency. What we like most about, there's 2 things that we like most about TASER International with the Axon Body 2 camera that other manufacturers don't offer. And the chief alluded to that with not putting any more time constraints on an officer. And what TASER offers is a CAD and RMS integration software system where our officers basically, it's almost hands-free for them. They come in to roll call, they grab the camera, they put it on, they film throughout their shift, and then at the end of the shift, they're able to dock the camera. And the software that I spoke of basically matches up their video files with the appropriate either CAD event number or RMS case number. So the officers don't have to spend any additional time labeling or managing video. The other thing is the ability of the cameras to integrate or pair with the smartphones. And we're going to do a demonstration here at the end with that. Basically, kind of along the same lines as Freedom, it allows the officers to be able to use the smartphone out in the car to see what the camera sees and to review their videos right on the spot. The last point is, like the chief said too, April 2016, April 12th and 14th, TASER came here, trained all of our officers, and we deployed immediately after that. So on the next slide, full patrol deployment of 115 TASER Axon Body 2 cameras on April 15th. To date this morning, we've already accumulated 15,132 video files uploaded by officers, which equates to, as you can see, 4.26 terabytes of storage. So it is a lot of video being uploaded. So next we're going to run through a couple examples of so you can have an idea of what the camera sees. Yeah, we could turn the lights down. The first one is a subject who is up on a roof, a subject who's wanted on warrant, and officers are working with the Lafayette Fire Department to apprehend him. And then there's a short clip of a daytime foot pursuit, and the last video clip is a nighttime canine officer with his partner as they check a vehicle. So, real quick before you started, this is again from the officer's perspective. You can see the
Mike, this ain't worth it.
Man, look. I'm trying to tell you, big dog.
There you go. You coming up? Mike, just come to me. We'll go down the ladder together. Together.
And then the next clip is the daytime foot pursuit. I believe the suspect is...
Hey, stop! Foot pursuit northbound in the alley. Stop!
And the last clip is the canine officer with his partner.
Super. Good. Yeah. Come here.
a couple just quick examples of kind of what these videos are going to show. The perspective from the officers. All three of these officers are wearing the cameras mounted on the either somewhere near the center of their chest or maybe even a little bit lower, depending on what works best for them. But one of the nice things, again, as I spoke of, was the ability to pair the camera with the smartphone. And the chief's is wearing one of the cameras right now, and we're going to be able to show how that pairing works and kind of what the officer sees, and has the ability to adjust the camera so that it fits. It has the best vantage point that the officer can get. And also, if they need to add any information to the video, again, they don't have to wait till the end of their shift to do that. They can do it at the time while they're on the scene of any call.
We have already done the pairing just to save us a little bit of time in here. But as you can see up on the screen, you see what this camera sees now. So, and I'm not recording if you want me to. One of the things that we thought would be helpful to show just for people to see.
I almost lost my opportunity. So my name is Scott Galloway, and I'm a sergeant in outreach and crime prevention. And I'd like to first thank the mayor and the chief for giving me a chance to talk about what we're doing in crime prevention and outreach. So I first want to say it's been an honor to serve as an outreach sergeant for the last couple months. We live in an incredible community, okay? We have incredible people that live here. It's enjoyable to talk to our citizens. Everybody wants to engage, and it's amazing how many people want to engage when we go out and talk. So I want to just talk briefly about a couple community-driven policing initiatives we've done in the last couple months. So since starting in February, we've made positive efforts in the community by crime prevention. That's our goal, is crime prevention. And there are a few success stories that we've had already. And first, we have talked about 40 neighborhoods and local groups in the last couple months. And in those groups, we estimate at least we've talked to 1,000 people. So that's a lot of people we're getting out and talking to. And in the couple trainings we've had, we've done training with the community. We've talked to at least a couple hundred people in those trainings, and that's going to continue. We've also, I'd like to say that we're proud when we go out to these meetings, we get feedback, and we address that feedback. So it's not falling on deaf ears. These are things that we hear information from citizens and their concerns, and we address it. So in one instance, specifically in this room right back here during our forum, a woman reached out and said that we need to talk to seniors more and get them more engaged in the community. So this month we're going to do that. We're going to go to the senior center at Jenks Rest, and we're going to engage with seniors and get them connected to the community and the police department and talk about ways to do that. And we also, when we go to these neighborhood meetings, do the same thing. We find out what unique problems are in whatever neighborhoods we're visiting, and we bring that back to the officers that are in charge of those districts to address those concerns real time. And finally, I'd like to point out, kind of echo what the chief had mentioned about Nextdoor. We've gained 1,100 Nextdoor members in 2016, which is a great number. And on all of our media platforms, we have over 20,000 followers. So that's Nextdoor, Nixle, the list goes on of the media platforms that we're on. And going forward, we're going to continue to have those monthly outreach conversations with community members and training. We are going to implement a citizen awareness crime prevention type training. It's going to be free to the public. I've talked about it before. We're going to implement that. And then we're going to keep pushing aggressively our outreach efforts to make our community as safe as possible. Thank you.